The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
Over. PBR Street Gang, this is all by standing by, over.
All right, everybody, we're going to do a microphone check real quick. And I did want to let you know we did have to extend the time a little bit for the start time here as we were waiting for a group from Discord to start joining the live stream here. Now, I did want to let you all know in the X chat or the X live stream, X is not very good for looking at charts. They really compress the hell out of the stream no matter how much bitrate I push through to them. So if you want to watch a clearer stream, please head over to the YouTube channel. The link is in my bio on X for my profile. It's also in, I also posted the link to the live stream on YouTube for you as well on my timeline. So if you want a cleaner stream to watch, I suggest you watch it on YouTube. X does not do very well when it comes to pushing through that bitrate that I am pushing to it. I've actually submitted a ticket with them, and they know of the problem, and they are going to be adding capacity soon. So hopefully the streams will get up much clearer and they won't be as compressed and crunchy heading out to you. But it does remind me of about 10 years ago watching live streams. So we've got almost everyone, I believe, in here that was asking me to hold off for a few minutes. So let me know if you can hear me across the various chats. I know that I am speaking over the music right now, but that's fine with me. As long as it's fine with you. Go ahead and let me know if you can actually hear me. And we are going to get started in a little less than 2 minutes. All right, and we're going to get rolling here in just a moment. Now, I did want to ask if you are on X or YouTube watching the stream, go ahead and share this one out there. It's actually pretty important based on what our last stream was based on and what yesterday's recorded video targets were. So if you can do me a favor, like the posts on X and go ahead and repost them for me and help me out on the social medias, get some more people in here. And we're going to make sure that people understand what's going on with price action here. Let me adjust my microphone. We're going to get rolling right into this and off of this 30-second chart, actually. So spam your timelines, please. Get the word out if you are watching the stream, as others might find this helpful. Hello and welcome to Landy's Crypto Corner for Market Madness Fridays here. As we do have a little bit of a dump off here on Bitcoin. Today is April 12th, 2024. Now we're going to follow up with something that I spoke about in yesterday's video, and that is the potential upside and downside from this area. And note that nothing has really changed. Bitcoin is still in a range, and it still is in compression. Now, typically, when we see a move like this, we do actually see, a move back down to the lower second when you get a really tight compression. And that is typically preceding a breakout. So, Bitcoin, in yesterday's video, I noted if it traded below the basis band, $69,000 to $70,000, it was going to violate some of the momentum pivots on the daily. And if it took out Wednesday's low at around 67.45, then we would be looking down to, somewhere around $65,000. Now, if you didn't watch that video, I went into quite a bit more detail, but daily closures below here will beget bearish divergence. Now, that's a regular drive of bearish divergence. Bitcoin had up until today's price action avoided this. But now where we are in terms of the range, Bitcoin does have the potential for further downside. If we do see the lower second standard deviation technically drop in this wick low at like 67,454 it's going to be one of those days, 67,450 to 67.5. We were looking down to, that lower first area being right there. We're looking down to the lower second and the $65,000 April of 2021 monthly swing high, which was coming in at previously, this was more like $66,000 or so, and maybe 66,150, I want to say, is where the lower second was. Now the Bollinger Bands here, the volatility levels will react live to price action. So price moves towards them, they're going to adjust down, as do the bands on the top side here. So it was around 66,150 to $65,000 was the zone. Should this wick low be dropped on any significant time frame, like a 4 or 6 hour, that does mean that this area is still a very likely candidate to get run again, based on some of the lower term timeframes, because this candle here, the wick low from Wednesday, was dropped on a 4-hour close all at once. So when we drop down to the 4-hour here, we can see that the wick low from Wednesday is right here. That's this guy here. That's that 67,450 to 67.5. That's also where the lower second standard deviation of the 4-hour is currently. So I'm going to expand this out a little bit for those of you on X, because the stream is kind of crunchy over on X. And again, I'm going to recommend that you head on over to the YouTube channel if you want a cleaner stream. X does not put out a very clean stream. It compresses the hell out of the stream, even though I'm giving it a lot of bit rate. So if you want to see a cleaner stream, head on over to the YouTube channel. And while you're there, go ahead and subscribe and like the video. All that good stuff. But I want you to note that in the lower term time frames, this 4-hour candle that just opened came back and tested that lower second standard deviation, which is that wick low right there at 67,450 to 67.5. So be aware that this is also a bit of a compression to expansion down into support. So the big thing that we were looking at yesterday to the downside in the recorded video, that is about a 10-minute video that you can find on my timeline on X. You can also find it on YouTube. And if you're coming from the Discords, it is posted. It's just above these live stream links. Now, where were we looking? Where were we looking, rather? Jeez. We were looking for, a retest of this higher low structure. This, as it stands right now, is a higher high. And, well, there is a potential for this to be a higher low. This is a pretty big wick so far. But, as I had mentioned, on the daily, any closures below the lower first, dropping this wick low, 67,450 to 67.5. We're looking for price to play down towards that lower second at 66,000, $66,000, low $66,000 region to $65,000 and this previous higher low. So we still have, higher low structure in place as it stands right now, but Bitcoin is threatening this low over here. So if this low is dropped on the daily at 64,500, we are looking for a move down to the next big support zone. That support zone is going to be this 61,350 to 58.8 monthly closing all-time high zone. So in October of 2021, just prior to putting in the wick high in November at $69,000 up here, which was the top side consolidation prior to this move down into $65,000, which was the first all-time high put in on a swing basis in April of 2021. Well, the monthly close put in a high in October of 2021, and it also put in a high in March of 2021 at 58.8. So that was the first all-time high on a close and a swing. Came in March of 2021 at 58.8 with that $65,000 wick coming in April. And it did change structure and put in a closing all-time high there. And then it came down into reaccumulation, shot back up and put in a new monthly closing all-time high at 61,350. And that's where we saw the wick in the November candle go up to $69,000. So this is a big area of interest. And why is that? Well, October of 2021, not as big a deal as this one here in March of 2021, because that is a quarterly close open all-time high. Let's go over to the quarterly chart real quick, and I can show you that right back here in 2021, this 58.8 zone is a quarterly close open, and we did see an all-time high put in there. The next quarterly, the next quarterly was a lower high, and that's all the way down at 46,211 on the quarterly there. So that's another big area down there. Am I looking for price to play down that way? Not necessarily, but I do want to draw your attention to this. If at any point we see a daily or higher term time frame close below the March of 2021 monthly closing all-time high, which is also, as I'm pointing out here, the quarterly closing all-time high from 2021. Well, if we see any daily price action down below there that does not swing it and immediately head back into the zone, and then subsequently start closing any higher term time frames below 58.8, I am looking down to $53,000. This is a weekly area. This is the September of 2021 weekly swing high. And then we have a close open weekly structure, two close open structures right here coming in December of 2021 and August of 2021 respectively. And I want you to note, it may be tough for you to see there over on X. Again, that's why I'm telling you, go over to the YouTube stream. It's a lot clearer. But you can see this is also where the quarterly upper first standard deviation of the Bollinger Bands is. So this is an important volatility level if we do see 58.8 break down. Now, again, it's conditional. So 58.8 has to break down on a daily and higher term time frame for me to start looking towards 53 to around $50,000 at these weeklies, 50,800 to 51.8 at those weeklies to be specific. We could even see a run at 50,000 and below into this next quarterly closing high. Now, that's not the first thing I'm looking for in terms of this price action, but I do want you to be very aware of it because we have a compression on the daily. If we see a close below this wick low at 67,450 to 67,500, I'm looking for price to play down into this lower second and $65,000 area unless we start seeing the daily get bought back up above the lower first, and then subsequently we see $69,000 start getting closed above again on something like a 4 or 6 hour time frame. So condition is if we see the lower first close below and this wick low dropped on a daily close, I'm looking for price action to continue to test down into the lower second, somewhere around 66 to the April of 2021 monthly swing high at 65. All right, if we start seeing that area break down, you got to watch 64,500 at this last higher low. That would be a structure break on expansion if we started to see daily closes below there And then I would start looking down to the next big area at 63.8 to the wick low at this prior higher low as it relates to the last higher low over here. And that is coming in at 63.8 to 62.250 to 62.5, depending on your exchange. Below there, we're looking for a run into 61.350 at the monthly October of 2021 high on a close to that 58.8 monthly and quarterly that came in March of 2021. So everything is conditional. If we do start to see Bitcoin recover back above the daily lower first on something like a 4 or 6 hour, keep a close eye on $69,000 where the daily basis band currently is. If we do start to see closures above there, then we're looking right back up to the upper first here at around 70,500 to 70,800. And then again to the new closing highs on the daily of this particular consolidation. So the most recent closing highs somewhere around 71.5 to 71.8. And then above there, of course, the upper second standard deviation. Keep an eye on this wick as well. Above here, this most recent swing high between 72,350 to that swing high coming in at 72,800. Above there, keep an eye on that closing all-time high at 73,835, because above there and the upper third standard deviation, we're looking for expansion to the upside. So that would be blue sky expansion to the upside, whereas any kind of expansion to the downside would be directly into support. So be aware of that. There's another few things that we need to talk about on the daily here, because there is the potential that if Bitcoin puts in another higher low, let's see where RSI is, because it is possible that we could see, well, as it stands right now, we're not seeing the possibilities currently. Maybe if it closes here or lower, but again, that's going to open up some more downside on the daily. We could see another drive of hidden bullish divergence. As it stands right now, if we get a close open and then Bitcoin starts to recover back above the lower first around the 67,500 area, and then $69,000, keep an eye on your RSI chart, because we could see a hidden bullish divergence drive, which, at minimum is likely to send things right back to the top side. I do want to call out that there is lower highs on the RSI, and we have higher highs on price action here. So there is a regular bearish divergence that is in play and playing out currently. And we've seen the first part of that move already right into the supports here. So the first part of this bearish divergence is playing out currently. And we've seen the biggest part of that move already occur. If we're going to see continuation of that bearish divergence, that's likely going to head down and test 64,500 and lower into those monthly closing supports at 61,350 to 58.8. I know I'm stressing the numbers, but some of you can't see those numbers on the stream for X. Again, please head over to YouTube, where the stream is much, much clearer, and you can actually see the numbers on the chart scale on the side here. You've got the blue over here representing this, or the bluish purple representing the upper third, the teal representing the upper second, the gray representing the upper first, the basis representing the red here, and then lower first, second, and third being gray, teal, and purple respectively. You can see it on the scale over here. Now, if you do have this indicator and you don't see that on your scale, you're not getting the upper second and third basis, lower second and third, printing the actual price volatility levels on your scale, double click your candles, go to scales and lines, I believe, and I believe that you can look at, which one is it? Is it scales and lines? Man, maybe it's status. And they moved everything, and every time I go to look for it again, it's always a pain in the butt. Okay, so yeah, it's under symbol, value, and then value according to scale. Make sure that is set. And then right here under indicators and financials, select value. You can also select name if you want the names, but that really muddies up the chart. So I would keep it set on value. Again, let's double click the candles, go to scales and lines, click on indicators and financials and make sure that value is checked. And that will put the value levels of the Bollinger Bands on your scale on the right-hand side of your chart. So be aware of that. All right, let's go ahead and evaluate this 4-hour a little bit more, because we do have expansion to the downside on the 4-hour right into the support here. Let's go ahead and turn on volume real quick here. We can see that this is a very, very high volume candle. And why is it so high volume? Well, let's investigate that a little bit further. So I'm going to bring you over to the open interest chart here. We're going to refresh this page. This is on coinalyze.net. You can get the aggregate open interest for the derivative exchanges. And you can see that on the move back to the highs here, we had very, very high open interest, somewhere just shy of $20 billion, almost $21 billion. And what we've seen is upon the break of that low at around 67,450 to 67.5, a real big dump off in open interest. And it's actually getting back to a normalized level that we have seen for this range at around $18.5 billion. On the low side, you can mark that down to around $18 billion. If we do start to see that area drop down to open interest, we're likely seeing Bitcoin push down to test that 64,500 area. So this is a big washout of leveraged traders. This is late longs coming in, trying to play the breakout. And we mentioned this prior. If we take off we'll take off the volume for just a moment. We'll come back to that. We'll take off the Bollinger Bands, and we'll take off the support and resistance here, and we'll just have a naked chart. Naked charts are wonderful charts. They might be a little nude, but they're some of the best charts you can look at. Which you have likely seen all over Crypto X and Crypto YouTube is like, well, look, it's a triangle. So obviously, because it's got higher low structure and it's this triangle, there's a few different ways we can draw it. We can draw it from the closes. We can draw it from we can make whatever the hell we want. We can make it up. It's a triangle. It's a compression. It's bullish, and we're going to get this breakout to the upside. Typically, what I've seen is pattern traders, and I had mentioned this previously, pattern traders 99% of the time get absolutely destroyed. But you could take the wicks here, and we can take what they were drawing before, which was this area here, to this area down on the bottom, and most longed this breakout of this particular triangle. And 99.9% of the time, pattern traders get wrecked because this is a consolidation, and they take the breakout trade and then they get completely washed out. And that's what you're seeing in open interest. So this is reflected in some of the pattern traders' thesis and trading patterns, quite honestly. And I had mentioned that they're probably going to get wrecked, and they have gotten wrecked. So if we come back over here and we look at liquidations, you're going to see that liquidations are elevated. They're not anything too crazy, but they are quite elevated. We've seen a lot worse in terms of liquidations, but to the upside and the downside, we had short traders get liquidated because price was moving really fast. They're trying to market in on high leverage, and prices shooting up and down as stops are getting hit. And liquidations on the other side were getting hit for longs. But we saw about 65 million liquidated versus about 27 million liquidated. So it's probably, you're probably going to see some I believe CoinGlass and a few others are going to have much larger liquidation levels. This aggregate liquidation is pretty accurate here on Coinalyze though. And what we're seeing is a normalization in the actual open interest in the market. So that's the amount of the dollar amount or total amount of actual liquid, the total amount of liquid positions that were on the board there got washed out quite heavily, and that's reflected in this liquidation chart here. And by the way, a lot of people make a big deal of liquidations. They're like, oh, it's this many people got completely destroyed, and liquidation implies that their entire portfolio was liquidated to cover the position. In most cases, a lot of these indicators on the liquidation tab are actually aggregating accounts getting wiped via liquidation, but also stops getting hit. So it's kind of a fuzzy number, but it is something to understand in that regard. So nice big move down in open interest. I mean, we literally went like about 1.5 billion, almost 2 billion wipeout in open interest there. So nice normalized level. Bitcoin playing around $67,000 again, but refer back to the beginning of the stream. Bitcoin has some work to do in order to maintain this range, but the 2-day is something that you have to be very aware of, and why Bitcoin is, spiking the upside and spiking the downside. Why is that happening, Landy? Well, that's happening because we went from this really beautiful expansion to compression. And when you start getting into a compression phase like this, and a really nice deep compression phase, so you see the nice squeeze on the Bollinger Bands here. Well, typically what you're going to see is Bitcoin's going to play both sides of the bands, or both sides of this more compressed range, before it picks a direction. So in this case, the lower second standard deviation is right here at the 2-day higher low. So the 2-day higher low is that 64,500. If we do see this area break down, let's go ahead and throw back on the monthly, weekly support and resistance zones. You can see that this is that swing right below the $65,000 level. Well, that's where the lower second standard deviation of the Bollinger Bands is. If Bitcoin closes below 64,500 and the lower second, which to be fair is moving slightly below there at around 64,400 now, then I would be looking for expansion down to that 63.8, 62, 250 to 62.5, and then into this big monthly closing support zone at 61,350 to 58.8. If we start to see expansion or further expansion down below there on the 2-day, then I'm looking for that $53,000 to $50,000 level. But right now it's still a compression, so we're still seeing a cool down phase, and it would only be expansion on closes below the lower second that also drop that wick low on a close on the 2-day. To the upside, the upper second standard deviation is sitting right below this wick high of the last or most recent swing high here at that 72,800. So the upper second is now at around 72,400. If Bitcoin starts closing above there, we need to see closes above 72,800 that subsequently go up and take out the all-time high here at 73,835. And then we can look for 2-day expansion to the upside. Now, when looking at the momentum pivot, now this is going to close on Saturday's daily candle. So the 2 days going to close with Saturday's candle. You do want to be aware of the momentum chart here, because if Bitcoin can hold above around 66,800 to $67,000 on the 2-day time frame coming into Saturday's close, that is going to shift momentum back to the upside. Now, that's only an initial cross, so we need to see wherever that momentum pivot updates to, we need to see Bitcoin close above the next one to get a full cross to the upside. So be very, very aware of this. This is all indicative of a compression phase prior to a break out to the upside or a break down to the downside into supports. So if Bitcoin were to break down further, we have some areas of interest on the fibs that Bitcoin is landing on right now, and that is the swing high to swing low structure here on the daily. We can see that Bitcoin has played up to the 888 area. It dropped the basis 618, and right now it is sitting on the 50% of this range. So the 50% of this range is $67,000. We do want to see Bitcoin remaining above here, but it still could dip down to that 382 that it just ran at around 65.5. Now, that area, if you pull the fib the other way, is just a 618. So this is an important zone. If Bitcoin starts closing below that 618, that low at 64,500 is in danger. And that's where we then have to watch, 64 down to 63, so on and so forth, down to that zero spot of this particular move. Below the zero spot, which is coming in at 60,777, right there in that monthly closing all-time high liquid zone, then we have to pay attention to this wick low and this consolidation prior to all-time highs. Now the wick low is coming in at 59,200 to this this order block candle just above it at $60,000, 60,350 or so, to the high side over here at around 63,675, which is going to be right in that higher low area over here. So that is that higher low area is 63,800 to 62,250. So this is pretty important right now. This is you got to keep eyes on coming into the halving. A lot of times we do see positioning around the local areas for cost basis. If you want to get cost basis, you can go to Caprioli's. Let's see, is it minor cost basis? We're going to have to just look on I have so many favorites here. So we're going to have to look at Caprioli Investments. So Bitcoin production cost, I believe, is the one that I'm looking for. Bitcoin production cost is right here. Yeah. So Bitcoin production cost, this lower level of Bitcoin production cost, the top side of this is coming in around $50,000. Go figure. That's right there at the weekly zone that we talked about. So if we throw on the weekly monthly zone, we can see that the cost production basis around, it's actually, to be fair, it's at $50,000. And I had mentioned $50,000, and we have the weeklies right there at that 50,800 to 51.8 on the close, and then the wick high there at 53K. This cost production is going to go up when we come into the halving here, which is estimated to be in about 8 days on 420. It would be really, really funny if Bitcoin headed back up and settled on 69,420 on 420, because that would just be so fitting. The market is a meme. It's not just cryptocurrencies that are a meme, though. It is also traditional markets. So let's go ahead and take a look at traditional markets very quickly here. And we can see that traditional markets are also dumping off really hard right now on the daily. We can see that they have broken structure. They've broken the fib structure, needed to hold that 50%, got closed below, tried to test back to the 786, and then dump. But it's still within the context of an overall uptrending range on the longer term timeframes. But it's threatening. Yeah, it's right here at this order block zone. And if this order block zone is dropped on Dow, well, looking for further downside, quite frankly. This is coming in now around these highs here. So I would actually give it a little bit of room. We can even take the closing highs. We're going to look at somewhere around 37,700 to this top side here as a big liquid zone around 38,100. It's currently trading right in this zone, so we'll extend this this box down a bit to those highs and that consolidation prior to breaking out to new all-time highs on Dow. And that is going to be the primary zone of interest. Below there, then we just need to be aware of 37,000 to 37,100 and this this little bit of a bullish divergence that was thrown here on this particular higher low, or this particular structure, which was a lower low structure. Got the bullish div and then took off to the upside. But this was an overall range between around 37,000 to 37,100 on the lows, and then on the highs around 37,700 to 38,000 on the retest. So that is very important for traditional markets. Yes, Bitcoin is subject to the forces within the traditional markets, but I do want you to note this. There is a potential Stoke shift back to the upside coming into next week if there is a decent week. 38,240 is likely to head down into right around where price action currently is, but this is an expansion to the downside and it's still got juice left on it. So I would look for traditional markets to play down a little bit more coming into next week, at least for Dow, and then try for a bounce up. And you can see the lower second standard deviation is right at the top side of that box that I just drew. You're going to find these confluences all over the place when you're looking at volatility levels on the bands. This is currently coming in at 38,100 at the lower second. So if it can hold this zone between 37.7 and 38K coming into next week, we might see a bounce up and then evaluate as it comes back to retest this big breakdown level at around 38.5 to $39,000. It could even get up there a little bit. But, you know, initially around 38.5, which is the lower first on the daily here. But Stoke is, you know, pretty deep. It might try to set up for a bearish bounce. And if it does set up for a bearish bounce and then get a reclaim, that bearish bounce could turn into a nice bullish reclaim into that zone. Now, when looking at NASDAQ, we can actually see that NASDAQ is not nearly as bad as Dow right now. Of course, the tech sector doing pretty well because of the big players in it, getting nice pump ups. This is actually sitting right now on a 618. If it does drop down, we're looking for that lower second on the daily to get tagged at around the upper $17,000 region. Currently, it's trading in the $18,000 region. It's not really, it's 18,000 points, but 18,000 bucks if you're trading the index itself. If it can reclaim somewhere around 18.2 above the basis band and the 786, we can look right back to the upper first at around 18.3 to that upper second area by the all-time high up here at around 18.4. So keep a close eye on traditional markets. This does have an initial cross back up. Looking to cross back down, though, on any closes below 18,060, and it's currently threatening to do that closure today. That would be an initial cross back down, so Monday's going to be a big day for traditional markets. I would keep a very, very close eye on traditional markets because, you know, they're not going to directly influence Bitcoin's price action, but they do rhyme, and they do have confluence. If liquidity is pulling back in traditional markets, it's obviously going to pull back in crypto markets as well. So something to keep an eye on there. Regarding NASDAQ and SPY, looking a little bit worse for wear, just like Dow. It is down below the 50% read on this fib pull. And this fib pull, you know, quite frankly, can be extended now. We can extend this back to the highs. It close opened below the 50% of this last swing high to swing low. And it is currently threatening that 272 to 191 area, which is just the inverse 786 and 888 up here. If it can bounce off that lower second, look for that 50% at the lower first to get tagged at 514 to 515. Above there, we start looking at 517 to 520 by the daily basis band. That would be a decent reclaim. It's got to get back above 512 to 515 though to start looking up any further. Otherwise, it's down to this wick low at around 508 to 510. And if it does drop around 504 to 505, I would be looking for a gap fill somewhere around 500. So that is something to be aware of. And this is still trending down and heavy pressure down. And we even have red DMI here on any closes below 516. So preferably you want to see this closing above 515 to 516 coming into next week. Of course, this is a weekend. Nice bearish close. We'll see if we get a bounce on Monday regarding traditional markets. Let's just take a look at the 4-hour real quick. Now, this is expansion to the downside still. This is likely going to continue to test these lows and lower. Not a given, but it is definitely in the cards coming into next week. So be aware of traditional markets. Let's take a look at Dixie real quick. Dixie having a strong run up. Now, I mentioned this prior. We've talked about this quite a bit. If Dixie got above the, you could see that it played right into our zones. Man, how perfect is this? It played right into our liquid zone here. Once it got above 105, came back and spiked it, and also then closed inside of around 105 and a half. Which was in our zone of interest at 105.40 to 105.60, closes above there. You saw the close came in there on Thursday, the 11th. We were looking up to 106, and it has now reclaimed 106 and is trying to hold it. But is it more likely to hold it or not? Let's go ahead and take a look at momentum. Yeah, above 106, it's looking fine coming into Monday. There isn't any in-trend bearish divergence. There is historical bearish divergence here, but it's nothing too crazy. This is a nice reclaim for Dixie. So this is another reason why you're seeing traditional markets and Bitcoin kind of play towards their range lows and threaten possible expansion to the downside. You know, we're already seeing expansion to the downside in traditional markets. Could that lead into crypto? Who knows? We're coming into the halving. We're likely to see some wacky price action to the upside and downside on Bitcoin. And then when that supply is restricted, likely to see that continue for a little bit before straightening itself out and getting on with the rest of the bull run here. Dixie can play down to the upper first at 105.80 all the way down to 105.50, and it's looking fine. In fact, it's looking fine above 105. This could pull back hard all the way to 105, and it would not even affect structure as it stands right now. But any closes below 105, and we're looking right back to 104.5 by that lower first. So that is something to keep an eye on coming into next week. And we will see that the momentum pivot is going to be right around the highs here. So if it does put in a high, that's where we start looking to around 105.80 to 105.40 or so. And then below there, we can start eyeing 105 on Dixie. Let's go ahead and take a look at gold. Gold has been doing really well lately. I've been enjoying this particular run in gold, but you can see that it has gotten a brutal rejection. So it got a beautiful expansion to the upside. Peter Schiff was happy. He was like, look at that, 2,400 gold. We talked about 2,400 to 2,500 being the liquid zone and likely to see a big sell-off from there. And we have. This was a massive sell-off on Friday, Friday the 12th, which was today. Wait a minute. Oh, I'm on the 4 hour, sorry. Let's go ahead and look at this again. The 4 hour is, it's today. It got a massive sell-off. So, but this is on expansion. This might be the high of this move. That's what it looks like to me. Could it keep playing up around the area? As long as it's staying above 2,300, looking pretty good. If it does drop around 2,320 to 2,300, then we're looking for this to mean revert at minimum back to this order block right here between, that's 2,300 to the bottom side at 2,280. Below there, keep an eye on the wick low around 2,270 to the basis around 2,250. Below there, and we're looking for this thing to come all the way back and start testing around 2,200 to 2,150 or so. And it does look as though this is ready to yeah. It's not, you know, there's no bearish divergence on the daily. Nope, there is bearish divergence on the daily. Regular bearish divergence. Edge of the bullish control zone is now at 2,300. So again, 2,300, keep an eye on that to the downside, see what happens there. Okay. Yeah, and that's likely going to be where the basis updates to coming into Monday as well. So definitely keep a close eye on it. I had taken profits coming into this zone up here on my options calls. So I'm glad I did that. It was getting a little overheated, but back to Bitcoin. You want to see above $67,000 hold. If it does start to drop it, it's going to play down to 66, 65 at minimum, and continue to play that zone. Watch 64,500 because below there, that's where things get dangerous to the downside for the bulls. To the upside, just be aware of any reclaims around 71 to 71.5 if you are in any kind of a short position. Of course, not financial advice. Do your own research. Everything could go to zero and all that good stuff. Let me open this up to the chats here and see what you guys think and gals. And let me get the music up here a little bit so we can cover for me reading through the chats here. Let's go ahead and we'll throw on retro waves, and then we'll roll on. Oops, I accidentally clicked it. Here we go. We'll bring this up a little bit. And I'm going to jump into the chats here and see if you have any questions, comments, suggestions, critiques. All are welcome. Go ahead and take a look. Oh dear, we've got quite a quite a chat going on here. Hello, Sam. Hello, Cheryl. Hello, Bobby. Hello, Baba. Jedi. How you doing? Hello, Don. Who else is here? I think that's it for some of this. How did you get messages redacted, buddy? All right, so let's see. Hi, did everyone do some shopping? Not yet. All right. Well, Soul is on sale. Soul is maybe looking on sale, but it's also looking as though it wants to really test some downside. Fed will raise rates and everyone will have irrational exuberance. Bet money on it. If they raise rates again, I'd be surprised if they raised rates. I know CPI came in hot again, as if that wasn't predictable by just going to the grocery store or filling your car with gas or anything. But to be quite honest, I'm not totally sold on them raising rates again. I do think these failed treasury auctions might force their hand and they might have to cut rates sooner than people think, actually, and then reinflate everything by printing, because they're in a bad way right now. But that's speculation. It's all speculation. Let's see. Jedi, of course, very off topic, talking about what he's eating. Oh, jeez. Hit those likes and dislikes. Aw. Dislikes. Come on, Bobby. You're supposed to be my buddy. Let's see. Hit every button you can click. Oh, jeez. Come to YouTube, everyone, says Bobby, because you can actually see the chart. Yes, on X, it is not a good watching experience on X as it stands right now. Hopefully, it will get better. I've been told that they're working on it. Okay, Landy needs to make a mod. You could hit 46K. I mean, from a technical point of view, sure. From the quarterly, sure. I mean, it's not out of the question. It would still be incredibly bullish on the quarterly. I think nobody's expecting. Everyone is still looking for $56,000 to $58,000 if Bitcoin drops around that monthly zone, and that only will occur if it gets swung and then closed right back in the monthly zone above 58.8. Otherwise, the more likely scenario is down to around $50,000 to $53,000. The monthly upper first. Bobby says, know your damn tools. It's indicators and financials. Yes, I know. I know, buddy. Can you do some volume analysis on this particular dump down? Yeah, I can look at volume in just a moment. It was one of the highest volume wicks that we've seen and one of the biggest washouts we've seen in this local range, so of OI. So that will be reflected in volume on spot as well. Oh dear. Move faster, wider percentage. Yeah, altcoins are going to move faster. Yep, to the upside and downside. Yep. So if Bitcoin recovers, altcoins are going to really rip. But just be aware of lower highs. To the downside, they're going to dump even harder. Yep. Bobby, message redacted. I don't know. That's not me doing that, Bobby, so I don't know what that's about. Oh, he can redact his own. Yeah, he can. We do love Jedi. Where is he? All right, he's here somewhere. Cheryl, did you join the Discord yet? Just message me on Twitter if you want the invite. I took the invite down off of the main feed. But if you guys do, if you're following me on Twitter or X and you want to join the TA Discord, you're more than welcome to. It is open, it's free. There's nothing, we don't do anything but gate it in terms of keeping bots out. All right. And then I don't really know what you guys are talking about now. I lost track of that particular conversation that y'all are talking about. Is there any questions for me regarding this before I do a little bit of volume analysis here? We'll go to the 15-minute to start the volume analysis, but if you have any questions, I'll give you a few moments to catch up and ask them. And then we'll get into some detailed volume analysis stuff. Again, reminder, I took the link to Discord down because it keeps expiring after 5 days because I don't have a big server, so I can't have a permalink to it. So if you do want to join the Discord, just hit me up on Twitter. I'll message you. I'm sorry, X, and I'll message you the invite. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at volume. Doesn't seem as though I have any questions. If you look at this last volume candle here that Bitcoin is playing in on the 15-minute, you can see the wick low here at around 65,100 is the highest volume candle that we have seen in quite some time. Let's go ahead and scroll back a bit here. Yeah, this is very, very significant volume. This is the equivalent to the washout at the highs. Actually, it's actually much bigger than that. So this is a beautiful washout right into supports. I love this, to be quite honest. And in fact, from the 15-minute setup, nice expansion to the downside on the 15-minute here. So expansion to the downside, bounce back up bearishly. What I would like to see is a nice retest of $66,000 at the lower second and then evaluate from there. If it starts to drop it again, then we're looking for 65K to get ran. This is very, very significant volume. So I don't, for context, I mean, we could go back in time and look at the volume, but this is nice. So let's go ahead and highlight a few candles in here on the lows in this high volume area. So the initial big dump off that really got the expansion rolling in a big way was this zone here on this candle between $66,000, which I just called out. That's the lower second currently. So if we look over to the right and we flip back to the 15-minute, that 1 minute candle, that is right where, I'm sorry, that's the lower second to lower first on the 15-minute is that 1 minute candle. That was the first big high volume candle to come in. Nice washout. And then the next high volume candle was the biggest one that put in the actual swing low thus far, and that is between 66,561 and the actual low down here at 65,100. So, you know, Bitcoin coming back in to retest this zone in particular. You can see the overlap here is coming in at around $66,000 to 66,550. That is the overlap between those two very high volume candles. That is going to be the biggest indicator. If that area holds up, great. Then we're probably looking for this bounce to result back to the upside a little bit further. Of course, it's got to get above this rejection around 67,500 to get continuation to go test up further. But if this area at $66,000 breaks down, we're looking for a run back to 65 at minimum. To test that 65,100 area, 65.5 or so. So that's the big one that I'd be aware of in terms of volume. Any closure, yeah, and then again, any closures below $66,000 is a close back below the 15-minute lower second standard deviation as it stands currently. And then below there, of course, we're looking down to 65 again, somewhere around 65, mid $65,000. And then if it drops that area, 64,500. And yeah, that's kind of it. Yeah, this is such a nice volume candle. So beautiful. Let's look at the hourly. We can get some more volume information on the hourly here. So this is the biggest candle since the actual highs, since the all-time high area. The initial dump off from the all-time high had a nice big volume candle that was larger. When it first spiked $69,000, that was a larger candle. And then the largest set of candles in terms of volume were in the monthly zones between October of 2021 at 61,350 to 58.8 down there in the March of 2021 zone. So we have all the confluences with volume as well. So everything is coming in and painting the picture as expected. Now from the hourly perspective, if we look at momentum, oh God, it's all squishy. Come back here. Let's see where momentum is. I believe there's still some good downside left on the momentum indicator, but let's evaluate. No, actually, it's looks all right. 65.5 actually for the moment. If Bitcoin can, keep playing in the area that it is, this is a nice upside switch in momentum, but the 4 hour is still heavily pointed down. 70,300 or so is the momentum pivot on the 4 hour. So a bearish bounce is likely, and then we got to see how it reacts if it heads back to the lows. If it can reclaim 70K, then great. This was a nice washout, turned into a nice big wick. But at the moment, it's more bearish than not to keep testing further downside at this particular moment. No guarantees though. Above $65,000, it's fine. Just so you know, that's basically what I'm looking at. Above 65, things are fine. Be aware if it breaks down though. 12 hour is probably pointed down. 12 hour is pointed down below 69,165. So closes above there on the 12 hour is going to be indicative of the daily probably heading back up. The daily is at 69,941. So that is, again, closes back above $70,000 on the 12 hour and daily are going to look very good. 69 to $70,000 is going to look very, very good on the 12 hour and daily. But until we see a close above there for the next couple of days, it's downside more likely. Yeah. Still looks like 58. Look, I can't project that far out. I can't say 58.8 to 61,350 is on the table until I see 64,500, that last higher low dropped. That's the criteria. Okay, 4 to 6 hour. We'll start kicking that off, in my opinion. Could it go for it, on lower term time frames? Sure. But it's got to meet the criteria. It's conditional. And this is a big volume-based area. So if it is dropped, then we are likely looking at 61,350 to 58.8, maybe even lower. But again, back above $69,000 to $70,000, and it's on to the upside to go retest its local highs. Yeah, prepared, not scared. Yeah, none of this should scare you. This is normal price action and expected price action. There's nothing wrong with it. Of course, be aware that today, when all the YouTubers start uploading their videos, they're going to be the most scary headline, fucking tagline videos or named videos that you could possibly find. It's just going to be a bunch of bearish bullshit all over the place. And oh my God, look out below. And could Bitcoin be crashing further? And like all this other shit when it's just a normal correction, right? Any correction and everybody's freaking out, losing their minds and just, talking out of their ass. We want to be realistic and focused on the opportunities, not the, oh my God, it's all over thing, because it's not all over. I've talked about this a little bit before, but I do think that the cycle, in terms of structure, is probably going to put in a really nasty pullback at some point. Could this be it? This is just a monthly test of the upper second standard deviation as it stands right now. So, I'm not concerned about this in any way. Neither should you be concerned, in my opinion. Of course, not financial advice. But, this is a retest of and we've already seen it, right, earlier in the month, of the upper second standard deviation on the Bollinger Bands here. one of the big things that you do have to be aware of with Bitcoin here is I do think that Bitcoin's going to put in a major top much earlier than people think. And actually Crown has now come around to this, if you watch Crown at all. And it's like, you know, everybody's starting to see it. And it's something that I've talked about for quite a long time with you guys. And that I think that Bitcoin is, you know, I was of the opinion that it would put in an all-time high before the halving. It did. I was also of the opinion, I'm also of the opinion that it's going to put in a major monthly high and get everyone really bearish. But in the context of the monthly, we're going to see Stoke turn down on any closes below $72,000 basically. But we have green DMI and we have increasing ADX, which is strength of trend. So we also don't have any local in-trend bearish divergence like what we saw back here in 2021, where we had a beautiful bear div. So I think that it would, you know, everybody's going to be screaming it's over, but in the context of the 2-month, we're just getting started. In the context of the 3-month, we're just really kind of getting started. But I think that over the next couple of years, Bitcoin is in a macro sideways and up consolidation that's just going to get more and more volatile. And it's going to get everybody really bearish, and then we're going to have what I'm going to refer to now, and we'll evaluate when it occurs. We're going to have mini bull markets, mini bear markets, all in the context of a larger consolidation range prior to a massive blow off in later in the decade, coming into the 2030s. And I think that is something. It's in my opinion, it's going to be a shortened bull phase to a shortened bear phase in the context of a lengthening bull cycle. And that is something that people have a difficult time wrapping their heads around, but I am of the opinion that that is what we're seeing occur. We could even see much shallower highs put in on the monthly, you know, $100,000, maybe it goes to 90 and then gets a massive, you know, 50% pullback. Maybe it gets it from here. We don't know, right? But it's all going to be in the context of this more macro, much longer term time frame up, sideways and up consolidation that's going to lead to a massive shift over the long-term time frames. We're talking 3-month, 6-month time frames, and then yearly as the years pass. So, you know, there's going to be plenty of opportunities, and the higher the price and the higher the volatility, the more opportunity there is to trade that volatility. Remember, we don't care as traders. We don't care about what the price is. We care about what our ranges of price are that we can play in, because it gives us massive opportunity for very good swing longs and very good swing short positions. Right now, it's still biased bullish, right? So if you're on the short side, you do have to be very careful until macro structure shifts. And we haven't seen any macro structure shifts. So those who are still looking very deep, you know, the $12,000 crew is still out there, just so you know. And they are 100% wrong until we see some sort of a macro shift. So they're going to continue to get wrecked. They're going to continue to get their followers wrecked, you know, leading into a more, what I believe is going to be a parabola top that's going to get everybody very bearish when it starts to put in a high. And then Bitcoin's going to go into a mini bear market, in my opinion. And then another mini bull, another mini bear, another mini bull. And we're going to see this thing mark up over time continuously as it continues to do this sideways and up compression over the longer term time frame, coming into the close of the decade here. We're talking 2030. And then post 2030, we're looking for a massive shift into Bitcoin. And that's something I'm going to talk about more, but we need to see these things start to come to fruition on our charts. And then we'll come back to it. Yeah, as it stands, Bitcoin's just ranging. Is it threatening downside? Sure. Yeah. I think Bitcoin's going to surprise people, by the way. And I'm glad that Crown, I've been mentioning this for a long time. I'm glad that Crown, who I respect very much, is now coming around to the idea of a more parabolic blow off, but he seems to believe that would be the end. I'm not. I'm looking much longer term that is a mini top, mini bottom, mini top, mini bottom, and then we go for the full Monty later in the decade. And I think it's going to throw a lot of people who are mapping on traditional market cycles onto Bitcoin, which is running to its own, it's got its own clock, it's got its own time frame as it hoovers up liquidity out of the financial system or the traditional financial system. So again, we don't give a shit as traders. We're trading the price volatility because that's where the money's made, not the price itself. If you're a holder and an investor, that's different. You want to wait for the massive pullbacks before you really start throwing significant money in if you didn't already get in. Okay. So anyway, and by the way, I think that I do, not financial advice, I do think that any wider pullbacks from here are opportunity for investors and traders. Just so you understand my position on that. It's not financial advice. Do your own research. Everything can go to zero and likely will over the longer term. Bitcoin at some point probably won't even be measured in fiat currencies, right? So that's my opinion as well. I don't think Bitcoin, it's maybe in my lifetime, hopefully in my lifetime, it's not measured against something like the US dollar. But it's measured in the context of the output energy of society at large. And that is something that is a much different conversation than looking at the chart. But I think you understand where I'm coming from with that. So, pups rule the world. Oh, Jesus. Okay, so you must be from the Discord. We've got some pups in here. Hello, pup crew. The opium OGs. The 777 OGs, the zero OGs. Yep, everything's going to zero. PMB fam is here too. Nice. We probably have some NBO here. That's New Bitcoin Order. Welcome. Glad to see everyone hanging out here today with me. Do we have any other questions before I wrap this up? Because I'm going to wrap this up. It's a Friday. I want to go get on with my weekend plans. And I'm sure you do too. Instead of sitting here listening to Landy rant about price action. I didn't actually rant today, Cheryl. What the hell? I didn't rant. Holy shit. I need to get a good rant in. Oh, bonk. Let's rant about bonk. Fucking bonk. Oh, excuse my language. Freaking bonk. It's not a stock. It is a crypto. Let's look at bonk on Binance. Oh no, bonk, what the hell? You're wrecking all the traders. All the degens are getting absolutely destroyed. The degens, the bonk is bonking everybody right now. Holy shit. Oh, you're all fucked. Oh no, you're all, oh God. Wrecked. Look at I'm gonna look at the volume here. This is how wrecked, oh, wait. Nope, this was an orderly exit at the highs. People aren't getting wrecked on bonk. They knew. We gotta rotate to pups. $ pups, bro. On Solana and BRC20, baby. Hold the rune pups, baby. And you got all the distribution of those freaking runes coming, man. Get it all. Market cap 10 billion, 20 billion, 50 billion, $1 trillion market cap for pups. Rune stones, what are those? Dog coin? What? I'm just messing. I do think that runes are going to do very well. Some will absolutely fall on their face, but the big projects are going to do well. Your rune airdrop for the rune stones are probably going to do well. Pups are probably going to do great. Node, I know that people are like kicking Node, especially the pups, like kicking Node while it's down. And there's probably legitimate reasons. I don't really know. I'm not that deep into the meta, but I'm sure that it's probably going to do well as well. You know, the big ones, the big players are going to do well, and all of the smaller airdrop and claimed runes are probably going to trend to zero over time after a big exit. So uncommon goods, you have until next halving to mint. I would not mint any right now. I would let whoever wants to get into the fray for uncommon goods, which is the Rotomar coin. Just know my stance on it is, why the hell would you mint in the bull market when you have 4 years to do minting? When you really want to mint is in the bear market. That's when you want to get your mints in. Yes, I have degen plays set up. Yes, I'm going to do a Discord stream here in just a moment. but it is, you know, you don't want to get bonked, right? You don't want to get bonked with lower highs and trends to zero. Now, look, I actually think bonk is probably going to do okay, but you've got a big exit right now on expansion on the daily downside. You know, maybe it's coming into a bounce or something soon, but this is ugly. Binance might not have been the best chart for this. I don't know what would be. Maybe KuCoin's got more history. They love to list every single shit coin on the market. Yeah, it's got a little bit more history. Yeah, this is coming into support. The bounce is to be expected. Nice bounce today, to be quite honest. Nice bonk on support and then bounce up. I mean, if you're a lower term time frame trader, you're taking the counter trade and you probably made some money by now. Hopefully you're exiting and waiting for trend to shift. But again, not financial advice. I ain't going to tell you what to do. I would just tell you that if I was on your exchange, I'd be hunting your stop immediately. If you longed this for the retest at minimum. Doesn't mean I'd get it, but I would be hunting you. Let's look here. Price range. Let's see what bonk did. Bonk to 23% rise off of the lows. So yeah, I mean, if I was on the other side of you right now, you better start exiting, because that's a fucking good trade on a counter trend trade, especially on expansion on the daily. Woo, because it's probably going to play back down, at least retest a little bit. Who knows? Maybe the thing just fucking reverses. Wow, that is a pretty big candle relative to the most recent volume. Yeah, this could bounce a little bit further, to be quite honest, but I bet you, yeah, it's got some downside still in it. In terms of momentum, its hourly is probably pointed up. Could it extend this bounce to retest? Yeah, actually it could, but that'd be a fucking beautiful trade. Even back to the basis, this thing's bearish below the upper first. I can't even read that fucking number. 0, 0, 0. It's 4 zeros and a 2, 2. So below there, still bearish. But that's a hell of a counter trend trade. Even right now, it's a freaking massive counter trend trade on the 15-minute. Right back to the basis, but looking for that downside. I'd be hunting the shit out of your stop, by the way. That's just me. Especially on smaller exchanges. Ooh. Man, you're in danger. Do you feel the danger? Were you levering up on the way up? Were you raising? Were you on 125x? Ooh, I'm coming for you, boy. Anyway. Yeah, Landy.dgen has entered the chat. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm sure there's probably meme coins that are ripping right now, but this is a heavy downtrend. So nice big bounce. If you took the counter trend trade, hopefully you didn't get wrecked and you took some profits and you're ready to get out and evaluate if it comes down. Maybe you get a double bottom. Maybe you get a higher low. Maybe you get a sweep of the low and then a bounce back up, because it is right into daily support. Anything below that, this is Bitcoin. Sorry. This is a heavy downtrend on Bitcoin. I went back to Bitcoin, not bonk. But anyway. It's same thing. I'm looking for a retest if this heads down. 66K minimum. Below there, I'm looking for a run of 65, possibly 64,500. And then you got to keep your eyes on, because if it starts closing the daily below there, we're looking, 63.8 to 62.5. Below there, 61,350 to 58.8. Back above 69 to 70, though. Looking good for the bulls. That is where I'm going to leave it today. I even ran out the music. Did I not? I did not. Let's go ahead and turn the music back on. Go with Emerald here, and this is going to play us out. You all have a wonderful weekend. Please, whatever you do, trade safe. And of course, above all, stay safe. And with all of that said, Landy out, and I will talk to you on Monday. Unless there's something significant that occurs over the weekend, in which case I will update you in the form of a quick take TA video here on X and YouTube. Thank you ever so much for joining me. And I love you all. Take care of yourselves and enjoy your weekend.
PBR Street Gang, this is Almighty. Standing by, over.
The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
Over.